for a small explosion. Um, During this time, we had multiple calls through 911 to PD and fire. No address, but just of some type of explosion or shaking. First arriving fire crew at 11:21, they located a potential explosion. It was at the K-Bar Construction property, as was the location. SAPD bomb squad was requested and hazmat to clear the area for potential other hazards. First arriving fire crew, engine 53, found one victim. Just after midnight, SAPD bomb squad clears the area. Arson Bureau is the lead investigator with SAPD. We also called an FBI and ATF to this incident. We established a unified command for it. So I'm going to show you this picture here, and Joe can kind of get over and show you also, or right here, but this is the property. This is a house. It's about 4,000 square feet, about 12 feet underground. The building was constructed with 6 to 8 inch walls, heavy rebar construction like you would see in a high rise. So again, very fortified structure, but from the air, from Google Maps, you can't tell it's a house. So there was grass on top of it, pristine grass. So this is what it looked like beforehand. So we'll go ahead and flip the after. And then the after, again, 4,000 square feet. You can see the septic tanks. This was the entrance. And so we had a blast radius all the way out to here where you see those damaged vehicles. So at 12:10, human remains were found of a second victim outside of the structure. About 4 p.m. on that Saturday also, the third victim is located inside of the structure. So when we talk about this structure, there's water in it, the walls aren't stable. So again, when I got out there and saw it yesterday, it was absolutely unsettling as far as the devastation that we witnessed. As far as first responders, you don't see things like this type of explosion inside of a building like this. Victim number 3 was found about 4 o'clock on Saturday. And yesterday, the evacuation continued. I had a chance to go out yesterday. A 4th victim was located. Excavation of the structure and investigation of the cause continues. We have found no other victims. We don't believe there was anybody else in this house, but just like we would do with the fire, we're very comprehensive as far as searching. So again, the property is 75 acres. We found about 100 vehicles, construction vehicles, tank trucks, road graders, you name it, RVs, cars. So large area. The post-blast area is also extensive. So you saw that picture that we put up. We have evidence it was found 150 yards beyond that. So again, the radius was large. The weather played a constant factor for us with the rain and the water filling up the main structure, and we had to pump it out daily so our investigators could get in. So that was a challenge. Also the mud. It was a really austere scene as far as the conditions with the mud, the debris, and the weather. Structural integrity was also a challenge for us because of the rebar, of the heavy metal. So we're using heavy equipment from Public Works to come in and move some of this debris field for us. So we also had one of the tracks break because of the muddy conditions. There's a 3-acre pond. We did have New Braunfels Fire dive team come out and work on it for a couple days. They had to discontinue because of the murkiness of the water and the runoff. I think they'll be done today. So again, we can confirm this afternoon that 4 victims have been located. Again, we do not believe there are any additional victims inside the structure. So far, investigators have been able to rule out a drug lab. We have been able to rule out explosive devices as a potential cause for this. We ask for your patience throughout this as we try to make sure that everything we give you is validated, is confirmed. We're working hand in hand with our local partners, again, ATF, FBI. I want to thank San Antonio PD. CPS was out on the scene with us with the utilities, and City of San Antonio Public Works. So this explosion happened underground, so you can imagine the violence of this scene and the explosion. So with me, I'm going to have Chief Barry come up, and we'll try to answer any other questions that you may have right now. Again, anticipate further information from us because we are not done with this incident. We are not done gathering information, but we have been able to rule a few things out and to put some of the rumors at ease and things like that. So again, I want to thank the crews that have been out there working because this is very labor-intensive work as far as digging this scene out. So I'll take any questions that you may have.
Chief, we talked about the weather a lot yesterday. When you talk about pumping out water from this type of structure and from that flood-prone scene, was any evidence destroyed? How does that work when you've got that evidence inside there?
I'll let you go ahead and step up and answer that.
So we were able to remove a lot of the water, but it just kind of kept filling in. So we were able to go through the debris pile. We sifted through everything looking for bits of evidence. We did recover 2 bodies in there as well. So I think we found what we were looking for as far as evidence, and I feel confident that we went through the debris pile detailed and were able to pick out what we needed.
You said 2 bodies were found inside and 2 were found outside the structure?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
With regard to cause, you just said that it wasn't drugs and it wasn't explosives. CPS Energy says they did not have natural gas service there. From the air, we saw a propane tank, so are you leading more toward propane?
So we did have some reports from some of the people that were on property several hours before the explosion that they smelled gas. So we are examining the propane tank that's on the site, and that's going to be an ongoing investigation. We're going to continue to look at that.
On the science side of it, propane is heavier than air and it would sink, and so if your house was way underground,
Exactly, ma'am.
the
Yes.
explosive stuff would go
The
down
house was
there.
set down 12 feet below the tank level above it. So if there was a leak, propane would have a propensity to sink down to that level.
Is there any chance that there's more fatal victims?
We should be finished with the excavation of the actual home and be taking measurements and be down in the home to examine the structure. So we haven't found anybody as of today. We should be done with the scene later this afternoon. Investigators are still on scene. I've been here with Chief, so my latest update is we have not found anybody else. We don't anticipate finding any other victims at this time.
With the things that you found, I mean, we're calling it a home. Is that what it looked like it was from the items that you found?
It was a home. It was designed and built by the contractor who was a construction company, and it was built. It just had concrete walls with reinforced rebar through it, so it was a very sturdy home. As you can imagine, being under all that earth and concrete, it had to have really heavy walls and it had columns in it to help support the weight of that.
And when you say explosives were not, it has been ruled out, does that mean foul play has been ruled out, or are you still looking into that?
We are still looking into some leads and some part of the investigation. We have ruled out the possibility of an actual device or explosives that were stored in there.
So dynamite's out, that
Yes,
type
ma'am.
of thing?
We don't believe they had a dynamite permit. We're still checking into that, and we still have to kind of close that out, but we did not find any evidence of a blast that was caused by a device or a type of seated explosion.
But it can't be ruled criminal or accidental? at
We
this
haven't
point?
gotten that far yet.
Okay,
Yes,
that's
ma'am.
what I thought. All right.
Did you say the victims smelled gas?
Some of the people on scene, the property housed a number of different people that came and went. Some of the people that we interviewed from earlier on in the day were able to tell us that they smelled gas on that.
Were there any calls or reports about that?
No, ma'am. We do know that the propane tank had been worked on, was recently being worked on. So we're looking into that as part of the propane tank and the system that was designed to feed the house.
Is there any info on the owner of the property?
I'm sorry?
Is there any info on the owner of the
That can come, we're not gonna release any of that right now. The property is owned by a man and wife and a brother.
And so when it comes to identifications for the other 2 victims, when can we expect that?
That would be a question for the ME's office. We're waiting for them as well. We're also waiting for the cause of death on all 4.
I don't know who wants to address this, but Chief, you spoke a little bit about the impact of such a devastating You know, nobody goes to work and expects to see something like this. You're getting some aftercare for your people, I hope.
We get aftercare all the time. In a situation like this, the dogs were actually the ones that were discovering the victims, and the ME were the ones that were taking the victims out. But as far as just the surprising damage that we all witnessed, you know, we go to training and we deal with blast and hazmat situations and things like that, but just the devastation that we witnessed. So yeah, we're making sure everybody's okay. We do have one bit of good news. There were 6 dogs that were found on property, and they were reunited with an owner. So that's one of the good things that we have. Any other questions?
When it comes to air quality, because I know we mentioned this yesterday, I know hazmat's out there just kind of monitoring the air quality. Did you find anything wrong with that air quality during your search?
No, ma'am. Nothing with the air quality. Again, it would be something that we would also look at the runoff if we were concerned about that, but we're not finding anything that was in the air or the water at all.
Were there any damage on other properties around? We hear from neighbors that they hear sound, but
Not really. You know, you're looking at 75 acres. One of the most amazing things to me, though, there was a tree probably 100 feet in front of the house. It was like disintegrated. It was charred. So all the trees around this house, a long way away, they were charred. So that was one of the things that was so impressive about this blast. But again, as far as any structural complaints from any neighbors calling 911, we did not receive any of those.
Well, we did speak to someone who said that her RV is on the property and that y'all have informed her that there may be some damage and they're not being allowed back. Do you know when that timeline is for them being allowed back?
You know what? It's a scene that we're still managing, so I don't know when we're going to allow people back in. It's a very unstable, unsafe piece of property because of all the concrete, the rebar, standing water. That is a retention area anyway, so it's a very dangerous area for people to be in. If you look at some of the pre-video or pre-poster shot, you saw a lot of concrete roads, and so those roads are damaged or not there anymore. So again, it's just not a safe place for people to be.
When we've asked CPS Energy for an answer and they haven't got back with us, but about right here, 100 yards away from Blast Central in the direction that the blast was traveling, there's a high tension power line.
Yes, ma'am.
There's a big tower right there.
Big tower. Yes, ma'am.
Has anybody evaluated that thing for structural damage?
There was no disruption in service or damage to that. That would be something that we would also take a look at.
When you-
Any security video cameras around the area? May capture this?
We did have some video, and that's part of the ongoing investigation, so we do have some photos.
when you all mentioned that you spoke to the owners of the property, who were the people that lived in that house? Were they workers from the construction?
It was one of the owners. So the property is owned by, like I said, like a man and wife and a brother. That was a residence.
So the owner of the property, he was one of the victims.
He lived on property.
Do we know if they were on site for a job? I know it's a construction company. I'm not sure if they were doing a job at the time of this incident.
So they were home at the house and the residence at the time. The entire 75 acres is home to all the construction equipment, a shop, a maintenance shop, things like that. So the entire property is kind of used to house the business equipment, but this was being used as a residence.
Do you have 3 witnesses who were on site at the time?
We have several that were not on site at the time of the explosion. No, ma'am. There was nobody that we talked to that was on scene at the time of the explosion. We have talked to people who were there prior to the explosion, and some that may have arrived as responders arrived as well.
I know it's an ongoing investigation, but is anyone facing any charges right now?
Right now, we're not going to comment on whether this is a criminal act or not. We're looking at other possibilities, so we need to run those down. So it's still part of the ongoing investigation.
Is this structure completely underground?
It was. So what you look at on the bottom is the grass, is actually the roof. It's about 12 inches of dirt and grass,
Okay.
and then another 6 inches of reinforced concrete on top of that. There's actually a tunnel about 25 feet long that you can't see there. That front part of grass is an actual tunnel with 2 concrete walls. So after the blast, you can kind of see the walls there. It was actually kind of an awning. So it was like a tunnel, like you would come out of a tunnel.
Kind of unusual structure to be to have a residential and
Underground houses are pretty popular. They're energy efficient and whatnot, so I can't speak to as why they would build there, but it was being used as a residence.
When something else comes up, we have more information that is validated. We'll get back with you guys. Thank you so much. Have a great holiday if we don't see you. Appreciate you.